you're not always going to win. You know, it's not like you can always be 100%. You know, sometimes kids make jokes like, oh, this racket has no losses on it. I'm kind of thinking, well, how many matches have you played?
That's a good point.
And so I'm kind of like, well, my racket has plenty of losses on it, but also has plenty of wins on it, right? And so same way with life and with sports and with everything.
Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
Okay, welcome to the studio today. I have a special guest.
Hi, it's Crissy.
Hi, guys, and we are so excited to chat today. Anytime we get to have our kids in the studio, I'm always excited because I think most parents love hearing from the kids' perspective. You know, we have our own ideas and thoughts, but anytime we can hear from you, it opens our minds and opens our heart to what, you know, we might be missing. And so today, Crissy and I have the opportunity to chat about the importance of really having support through different seasons and when to bring it maybe to a parent and when you're supposed to maybe process it yourself. We've been going through it this week with all kinds of stuff, whether it's through sports, homework, Crissy's been learning how to drive, or friendship groups, or where to serve at church, or whatever it may be. And one of the topics that we've been hitting on is the importance of you processing things, of course, and then when to bring it to us and feel like you want support from us.
Absolutely. I do feel like it's a really important topic to have clear discussion from the parent to the kids, even like between siblings, between the whole family, so we can process things together and be even more united and connected. Because I feel like always knowing when to figure things out on your own a little bit, but also knowing when to ask for help is something really important. I feel like it really deepens our connection. So I feel like it's super important.
Yeah, we had a situation this week where Crissy and her sister, Abby, were at tennis practice this week. And I know we mentioned it, but they play for varsity on a high competitive school level. Our school is very competitive. And so them getting on the team is a big success. But this coach has kind of an old-fashioned way of coaching.
He definitely has. He's been here like a decade, and he has had a lot of really great championship teams. And so he has his ways, and he's very stuck in his ways, which is, you know, it's obviously worked the last couple of years, but he definitely treats all the kids very similarly, maybe not always paying attention to the differences in each kid, their strengths and weaknesses and things. And so there's always things to, you know, jump through loops to actually figure out what he actually means or what he expects from you, because he really coaches everyone really, really like the same way. And so it's definitely a good thing to be able to talk about with our parents, because they can see it from a different perspective even than us. And when they're not as emotionally involved, right, they can really help us process it and go through it.
Right. And specifically, one of the ways he kind of coaches is that he will hold his cards very close to him and not say what he really means.
For sure.
It's kind of like a riddle.
It is a riddle.
You'll get on the team, and then he'll kind of make comments that you're not really on the team unless you play in districts.
Right. Or he'll just like say things like, oh, 5 of you going to get cut by the end of the week, and then none of us do, right? Or he'll say, oh, by this deadline, we need to figure this out, so today's match really matters. And then later you find out he didn't even keep track of the score, right? So he just puts like pressure on you in different ways. And some kids work really well with it, some kids don't. But there's just little things that you got to kind of figure out, and he doesn't always say what he means. And so I feel like it's really a good thing to be thinking past what he's saying to thinking about actually what is realistic.
But you wouldn't naturally do that.
Right.
I mean, most kids on the team, and yourself included, you don't understand this kind of coaching.
Exactly.
It's not the way Dad and I coach you guys. And it's not like any of your other coaches in the past have done this.
Right.
And so I think his heart is what, like, it means well. He wants you guys to do well. He kind of is putting you in a mental position to take on a lot of pressure. So when there is high pressured games, you guys can handle it. Mm-hmm. But for some of you guys, it can get really frustrating.
Absolutely, especially during the season when we were in such close like competition with the other people on our team, because when we play against our own team, it's going to be, way more intensive a match than, most of the other schools. Being on such a good school as Eagle, it is like really important that you're always on your game, always working hard, always having everything going in your favor, because there's so many other girls that are also doing the same. And so I feel like when we're here, it's really important to make sure that we're trying our best and everything like that, but also we need to be mentally tough enough to not even let him get in our own heads.
And that's what we've been talking with you guys about, is really understanding that you cannot play the mental games. You have to stay true to your course.
Absolutely.
And yesterday was one of those situations. You and Abby had a chance to play doubles against another couple girls on the team that played with you guys, and you had beat them easily before.
Yes, we had beat them several times before, even in singles and doubles, like a lot of times before.
But yesterday they were having a good game.
Yeah, they were playing really well together, and like they were really great friends. So they were playing well. We all played really great, and it was a really close competition yesterday, and we ended up losing in a tiebreaker at the end. And I think just goes to show that the competition at our school is so good, and that anybody at any time can have a good or bad day, but just to mentally push through it and make sure that we're still bringing our best every single game and not letting it, not letting ourselves get down.
Well, and that's what kind of happened for a minute, is you and Abby were super frustrated with yourself. But kind of the back end of this is the coach had prepped these girls. Obviously, Abby and you were the target.
Absolutely.
That you guys do very well. You're very athletic. You're very skilled. And he wanted to kind of throw you off.
Yeah, I could absolutely tell that these two girls, I could see them in the corner whispering about us, right? And like trying to come up with strategy. But the coach didn't even tell us that we were playing them today, when he had given them a lot of strategy about how to play us and how to beat us. And even in past games, they had modeled after our game, right? They started taking our strategies and started putting it back at us, right? So like the last couple times we played them, we could tell a huge difference until this time that they played, because they got coached beforehand. And we just got thrown on court 2 minutes before we're told, hey, you're playing these two girls, right? So obviously they were at the advantage because of that and this coach prepping them heavily. But it just goes to show that there can be, our coach can do different things, maybe things that seem unfair, but we were thrown in this situation and we chose to still try our best and still mentally push through. Even if we did lose, we have a lot of things to learn.
And which I think is huge. I think another point was that you guys were the target. Like, obviously, he wanted to throw a loophole in here and throw you guys off a little bit and then maybe give them a win. But regardless, you guys came out ahead learning a lot, I would say. And one of the frustrations was, well, I'll take that back. Some of the wins were you and Abby were playing well together. Like, you were encouraging each other. You guys were on the same team. You weren't frustrated with each other. You were really doing a good job of positively impacting each other.
Exactly. Yeah, we were really keeping the energy up and doing everything like teamwork wise that we could have. And we know each other well enough that we know what to do, even if this is only our second time playing in competition with each other on a doubles team, right? So we did like all the little things that could help us with energy and with focusing and making sure we're encouraging each other. I mean, we never said one bad thing to each other, or, oh, we should have made that or whatever. Like, we were always keeping the energy up on both of our parts. So that was really good.
And then you also learned the importance of that there's going to be loopholes. Like, there's going to be things that are going to be thrown at you that you might not be ready for all the time.
For sure. And they were playing the best I've seen them play this year, and they were both having a really good day. And Abby and I probably weren't having our best day skill wise, could have been anything, but we were just pushing through, and we brought it down to the wire. And so we were good about that. But Bella brought up a good point afterwards. She's like, well, they needed to be coached and prepped heavily in order to beat you guys. And so you guys were put at an extreme disadvantage, but they're the ones that needed the advantage to even come close.
That's right.
And so like beforehand,
good point.
Beforehand when they had just not had anything, we beat them up like really by a large margins, but they needed to be, very specifically coached on exactly what to do to beat us at that time of day, that match. And so since we weren't given any of that, we were the ones that they needed to take down. We were the team at the advantage. And so they thought that they needed to be given advantage as well. But so we pushed through no matter what the odds were.
But in the end, you were frustrated.
For sure.
You and your sister were both very frustrated. I think a couple of reasons. One, with yourself, because you knew you beat them before.
Absolutely.
And then the other frustration was like, where was your coach? Like, why didn't you guys get coached too?
Yeah.
Had both sides been coached, that might have been a different.
It could have been, or neither side been coached like the rest of the kids. Nobody got coached that day except for them, right? It's just like, especially when we're just doing practice, he just kind of, says, everybody go out and play. He wants to see how we play on our own right, in our own mental game and everything like that. But had we been given the same fair lane as everybody else, I think the outcome could have been very different.
So I think a lesson learned is that it's not always going to be fair.
It's not always going to be fair. You got to overcome.
You have to mentally, emotionally, physically overcome. It's not always going to be fair. I think that was a big lesson. Again,
I agree.
And we've learned that a lot in sports.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's again one of the life lessons that we've really learned through sports, and we've needed to need help processing. What do you do when you lose and when you win, right? And so I feel like that's really big, and another thing that we probably need to process over time with you guys.
And the next thing I think you guys learned was, because you were kind of disappointed maybe in yourselves a little bit, you didn't know how to bring it to us.
Yeah. Or even like the rest of the family, because even like Bella had a good day, Drew and Ellie had a good day at tennis, I felt really like I had failed that day, right? Or felt like I hadn't played my best or hadn't done my best on a really crucial day, right? So I felt really disappointed in myself, and I was afraid that everyone else was going to be disappointed too.
And I think it's a lesson learned because, I happened to hear about it from Abby, because typically Abby's one that doesn't hold in her emotions as much as you do. She typically expresses them before you do. So she brought it to me that she was pretty upset with the evening, just that you guys lost, that you felt like you were kind of not trained up by the coach, that you felt a little disadvantaged, whatever. She gave me all her feelings. And then I came to you and I asked you what happened and, how come you didn't want to talk to us about it? And I think all the reasons you just explained is why you didn't necessarily want to bring it to us. But for me as a parent, at first I was kind of hurt by it, and I know you didn't mean that by any means, but I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like if something happened today that was disappointing or that you needed encouragement or even a process partner with or somebody to walk you through it, I always want to be that person. And I think that that, but in the moment, it felt like you might have let me down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that even just me being so in my own brain and just spiraling afterwards, I feel like I had like such a level of mental toughness during the game that it all just like went down the drain afterwards that I wasn't really ready to tell anybody, right? So I just kind of wanted to process on my own, get a good night's rest, get my own little sad session out right before I brought it to anybody else. But obviously that wasn't the right way to do it, because the more you hold it in, the more angry and sad and disappointed in yourself you get. So really you need to get it out to let other people help you and support you and encourage you.
Yeah, it's one thing that I'm very proud of you guys for, that especially you try hard to, process it first, but then, sometimes it's not the time you need could be shortened sometimes.
For sure.
Because of a couple things. Number one, I want to walk through it with you. I have a bigger perspective. You know what I mean? I have seen good coaching in the past, bad coaching in the past. I've gone through it myself as an athlete in, school years. And so dad too. And so we would both be able to give you a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Number two, I think what's so important is, being able to really be free with your feelings, like bring it to the family so that we can all discuss it together and then encourage you. I mean, I think after we all discussed it last night, you slept better. You were able to process it in a more healthier perspective. You were able to wake up not maybe feeling the heaviness.
Yeah, and it's even nice hearing everyone's perspective, because I hadn't fully realized the depth of how the coach had, done things. I could tell that they had been coached, but I didn't notice like all these different things. So I was like, wow, there's a lot more odds stacked against me than I realized. And I did work really hard to overcome, and I did try my best. And they were like, well, you did everything you could control. You can't always control the result, but I did control my attitude and my mental toughness and the way that I controlled my playing and my attitude towards Abby even and everything like that. So I put in all the little things and they're going to pay off. You're not always going to win. It's not like you can always be 100%. Sometimes kids make jokes like, oh, this racket has no losses on it. I'm kind of thinking, well, how many matches have you played?
That's a good point.
And so I'm kind of like, well, my racket has plenty of losses on it, but also has plenty of wins on it, right? And so same way with life and with sports and with everything. And so I really feel like that's a good lesson we learned.
Yeah, and I think another good lesson you learned too through the whole thing is that sometimes you just gotta shake it off. Like we laughed about it last night, we cried about it, we got mad about it, all the emotions, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And then in the end, we're kind of like, okay,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna come out tomorrow, meaning today, and be stronger and better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think that's the key to the whole thing is being able to have a strong family unit that will support you and also give you perspective from a big, view.
Yeah.
And one of the coaches that we really enjoy, Coach Tracy, says, what is your greatest strength when it comes to sports?
It's definitely my hard work, my grit, and my mental toughness.
And then on top of it, our family dynamic supporting you. Like, of
and
course.
Because of that, that's where it comes from, is our family support. She notices that all those things maybe are a little bit easier to see on the outside, but when you actually unpeel the layers, it's your family dynamic. And that's what she likes to tell us. And so it's so true. It's our family support and our family being able to process with us and being able to talk through it with us. She's always like, that's the real underlying reason, even if the other coaches don't always see that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's the most important thing.
Which, at practice, we wouldn't have been there. Mm-hmm. But that's why I know in a real situation, if you were really at a match against competitors, like, we would all be there.
Absolutely.
In full force right behind the fence, encouraging you and reminding you of who you are. And so I think all that comes to say that, the importance of the family dynamic when you're going through anything in life. It could be a sports situation. It could be a friendship situation. It could be that you feel bad because you didn't make, anything. Maybe you didn't make a team in a different way of some sort, not necessarily around sports, or maybe you didn't get, the position you wanted in certain things. Is that, family dynamic is the best thing. That's the biggest strength. And so I think as parents, one thing we can do is always listen to our kids. It doesn't have to be at a certain specific time. In fact, when this situation happened for you, I was at a meeting for the night.
Yeah.
I couldn't help you right at that time. But when I came home, I made it a point to really sit down and help out.
For sure.
Or maybe, the family dynamic is today showing up at practice a little early to see what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Or maybe today it's reminding you before you leave of your greatness, or maybe it's getting all the other siblings to help out to remind you guys of your strengths, So I just encourage you families, like, a lot of times we don't always know what to do. And I think some of the steps we just went over today could really help you.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.